Alrighty, so here we are. We're going to take our channel back to the originality a little bit on this video here. But here's our 67 Chevelle, and it's got 66 fenders on it, obviously. And that made my mind up. I might just put this car, probably going to make it into a 66 like I want. And I'd like to do a 67, but I don't have a 67 hood. And I don't have the correct 67 taillight panel, but we're just going to make it a 66. That's everything I have anyway. And I'm going to go from there. I've been working on this thing a little bit, just kind of seeing what's what with it. And went in here and I trimmed the floor pan lip where the back seat is. It goes underneath this trunk pan here. I trimmed that up a little bit because I had to fix that. And that got rid of a lot of these issues with this line. But it's the taillight panel there. But trim that up. That allowed the trunk pan to go up a little bit further. And I might have to trim it just a little bit more. But the reason I trimmed it like that is a little bit of that lip was rotted out. And I took some scrap metal a couple years ago. And I made a new lip. And the lip is just way too wide. And I mean, I need that anyway, but so that was part of the issue there. I took some scrap metal, and I mean, that thing was hitting that cross member underneath that trunk pan and wouldn't allow it to go all the way forward. So now it's a lot closer now. It's still got to go up just a little bit on this side. It's a little bit crooked, but that side is pretty darn close. And I got a little bit of rot I got to fix in there. I got to fixing this lip from there down. But I got to fix these ugly welds here. But don't look like welds now, but they were. But I got to correct all that and get this floor pan to go in just a little bit more on this side. And then I'm going to take some sheet metal screws and I'm going to screw it down. And I'll see what we got. That didn't quite correct the body mounts. The body mounts are still off, but they're not nowhere near as horrible, which is good. But I think a lot of that I can get out because the body's still out of alignment on the frame. It needs to go that way just a little bit. But you can kind of tell the distance between that quarter panel and that frame right there compared to this side. Yeah, it's a considerable amount right there. But every picture I've looked at, you know, trying to center the body up on the frame. But trying to get this thing straightened out here. I dug out my taillight panel here. It's a 66. And went in here and move this thing out of the way here. Went in here and cleaned all this mess up. Took my time and cleaned that lip off. Got all them spot welds and all that ground down real nice. And I mean, it's not perfect, but I mean, it's a shade tree stuff. But trying to clean all that stuff up there. Got all the way around. Where that lip follows all the way around and comes all the way around right here. I got this little piece right here. I got to get this off, and that should allow this to go all the way back on this side like it's supposed to. But it's this little section right here. I got to trim that off. And haven't made my mind up yet. Well, I got to trim that off, but I might have to trim this up, trim this down just a little bit to get the weather strip channel to line up correctly. But this side's looking a lot better, a whole lot better. This side I got to come in here, get what's left of the trunk drop off. Got to get all this junk out of here, clean that all up, and go in here and get all this mess cleaned up in here. So I got all this mess. Got to clean up all the way around the quarter panel here. But let's see if we can get a light on here so you can see it. But it's still got. There we go, now you can kind of see it. A little out of focus there. There we go. But I got to get all this out of here, get it all removed. But clean all that up. I mean, the new taillight panel, it comes with it anyway. But all that comes with it. So it's not a big deal there. So we're trying to get it lined up here and get this thing straightened out a little bit so I can kind of see what's going on. That's the whole reason why I pulled the 283 and the 4-speed out of here, is everything's out of the way. I can shift the body how I need to do it. It really wasn't hitting nothing anyway. But while the transmission, it wasn't hitting the transmission tunnel or anything like that. It's just, I just wanted it out of the way to basically get out of the way. That way I can actually truly work on this thing and straighten it out how it needs to be. And I'm kind of thinking about this too. I feel kind of dumb about it, but I'm wondering, I wouldn't think, but if we look here, I think a lot of the issues too is we got taller tires on the back, we got skinny ones on the front, and it's just, you know, we got different, like 3 different tire sizes on here. And I think that's a lot of the issue too, is why we can't get this body to sit on there right. But now that, ignore that, but I threw it on there from our Biscayne there just so I could move this car. But I think a lot of that's some of the issue. So it's not letting the frame kind of sit level, so to speak. And I mean, you could still move the body around, but I think it's a lot of the issue there. But so I'm gonna see if I can find a set of junk tires that are all the same size. I'd like to find 225 7014s, but I'd like to find wider wheels for the front, because I'm not really a big fan of the 14x5s. But I want 2 more 14x6s for the front. But shame by our Biscayne, all them wheels on that car. I need 14x6s for that too, but they are just shot. But trying to straighten this thing out here. I'm gonna pull this front clip back off, and that way I can allow the body to move it around like I need it. And then we're gonna bulk the front clip back up, and then we're gonna get all this mess straightened up with the trunk pan, get our taillight panel in. I screwed up this deck lid. I did that by accident, but you know, it's kind of not really a good situation, but I crinkled that a little bit. But that happened because if you will watch back my videos there, I got a 78 F-150, which is over there. I had worked on it, and my dumb ass sit there, and I was sitting there and doing the top end on it and all that. Long story short, me being a dumb ass, I sit there and had a jug of gas sitting underneath the exhaust manifolds, and they were open, and I was cracking the throttle, you know, whap out, whap out. And it blew a flame out, and then just, you know, started a fire. And this car was in front of that truck, and I had to take my legs and everything. I kind of talked about this a little bit in the older video. I had to take my legs and, you know, push against this car. I didn't want to do that, but, you know, this, you know, I didn't want to take out my car and everything else, and I just pushed against that bumper on that truck, the front bumper there. And I'm pointing at that 78 there, and shoved it back so I could get the fire out. That way, God forbid, if I couldn't get it out, then, you know, at least I'd lose one truck instead of losing my Chevelle. So the Chevelle always got in the fire. But everything worked out. We got it put out, and won't do that again. That was a dumbass thing to do. But anyway, this is what we got here, and so I'm gonna work on this thing a little bit more. I'm gonna get this channel off here, what's left of the trunk drop off down there, and get all this cleaned out, and get this little piece off on this side here, and then we can kind of judge if we need to trim this a little bit. And it ain't got to be 100%, but I'm just, you know, I want to get this thing on the road. I really do. And this vehicle, I want to get it straightened out enough. My goal will be to get it straightened out enough to where I could put regular tags on it, because that's always been the plan the whole time, is I'm going to put regular tags on it. That way, I mean, I hate state inspections. I absolutely hate them. But, you know, I think they need to get rid of them. That's just me. But long story short, this car would be a lot easier to get past inspection, because you're exempt from all the emission junk, and you can do what you want with it, and it'd just be a lot easier. So that's a plan for it, and then that would allow me to, I really don't want to do it, but I'm kind of considering putting antique tags on my Durango, because it's just getting too many issues electronically, we'll just say. I mean, it runs and drives, but it's just, you know, it's just one of them things. So anyway, I won't go into all that, but this video is about this car. So I'm gonna take it, I'm gonna work on this a little bit more, get this straightened out, and I think what might be holding this up to keep this trunk pan from going maybe a 1/4 inch, maybe a 1/2 inch, something like that, a little bit further, is if we look down here. I mean, it's nothing hitting, but I think we might have to come in here, because if we push up on it, it's hitting against this wheel housing here. So what I could do, and we got a heck of a gap right there, but that could be straightened. This wheel housing, it's a little kind of messed up, because when I come in here and cut the old trunk floor off, because it had this piece up here was still in this car, the original trunk floor, and then from here down wasn't. And they had put a 3-piece trunk floor kit in this car, and I don't know, I used to not be a fan of them, honestly, because I like replacing the whole thing the way, you know, it was originally as one piece. But like I've said before, these trunk pans themselves fit pretty good. But the braces, like I've always talked about, if you could get them without the braces, that's the way to go. It's a lot more work that way. But I tell you what, it gets rid of all these issues, because to me, it's definitely, so we got 2 issues going on. Our trunk floor, when they put these things on the jig and they stamp them, they take the braces, they put it on the jig, and they line it up. It's supposed to be lined up to all the body mounting holes and everything. And all that way everything's true, and then they spot weld everything together. That's the way it's supposed to be. But I think what happened is they must have shifted, or something shifted or something. But it's like all of them are pretty much just way off. And now the one cross member underneath here, behind our back seat on this trunk floor here, that one's fine, because this one goes from wheel housing to wheel housing. And technically, our body mount holes, even if they are off, it's not really a big deal, because what you could do is you could go in there and pull this floor out and just cut that section out of that brace and just move that body mount over a little bit and weld you a nut on it. And I'll just patch that hole back up where, you know, it was made. And then that would correct that issue. But I don't want to do all this crazy stuff like that, because I want to get the body lined up as best as I possibly can and go from there. But I've talked about before, I was thinking this car was kind of either rear-ended or either maybe T-boned. And then I'm not talking about this body, not the Chevelle body, but the actual frame itself. Because that frame is not original to this body, because the fellow I bought it off of, he took this body and set it on this frame. Why? I don't know. But so you can't really go by the body on it. So I'm just wondering if that frame, supposedly it was from a 66 Super Sport. So I don't know. I mean, I believe it. I mean, I think it's true. But I don't think he ain't got a reason to lie to me about it. But it's hard to believe I've had this car for just about 10 years. It's crazy. But this is the longest Chevelle I've ever had, pretty much. But I think it might have got hit on this side. Something must have hit on this side and pushed that frame over a little bit. But I was looking at this frame a lot closer, and if it did, if it would have took this frame and pushed it over, well, up in that frame rail right in there, it would have stretched. You would see that in that frame where it would have stretched, and I don't see that at all. So I think that our alignment issues is pretty much in the body. Because you would see, if it would have got hit on this side, on this quarter here, and like I said, not this body, but if this frame, whatever frame this came off of, I know it's a 66, but it's a 2-door or Super Sport or 4-door, whatever it was, you would see the frame, you would see stretch right in here. It would be a weak point, and I don't see that. I mean, it's no evidence of it. And I even wire wheeled this frame up few years ago, back in probably 2014, 15. No, it was probably around, 2016, and you would see that. You would see the evidence where it was pushed, and I'm just not seeing that. So I don't know what's going on in there. So let's look at this side here and compare it. Yeah, this one's the same way. Because it's got a little stamping right in here. It scared me at first, but that's made like that. Because it would have folded this in a little bit, but I'm not seeing that. That frame's dirty. I'm not seeing it. So the frame was not wrecked. I mean, that's what I was thinking, but it's definitely not. The frame has not been in a wreck. So that's definitely, I'm going to confirm that now, that frame has never been in a wreck. I mean, I won't say never, but it's never been in nothing major enough to cause all these issues. So our issues with this body is the body to the frame, getting it lined up right. And I've never seen such body mounts like that be that far off. But they're a lot better than what they were. But if you come underneath here and look at our trunk floor, it's much better than what it was, but it's still off. So it looks like it needs to, so about the center of it's right in here. I might be able to get that out. So where my finger is about the center of that hole there. Pretty close. So it needs to go over just a little bit. Forward and over. I can't really go that far up, so So I think these are actually off. So we can adjust these. I don't like doing that, but we might have to. And it's gonna be a little interesting. I'm gonna have to figure out something. Might have to notch that out and remake this in right here. But this is the reason why I don't like buying trunk floors and floor pans, even floor pans. Buy them without these braces. Because the stampings ain't too bad, it's just these braces are just way off. Now this one I took off and bolted it to the actual frame, and it's not that far off. Oops. So got our body mount right here, and then we got it not too far off. So that's not too far off. So the trunk pan, see, that goes to show. So here's our wheel housing, and that lines up pretty close. So that lines up pretty close to our wheel housing there. But our brace right there is off. So I might be able to, see, we could get that out a little bit. I think I see what's going on now. Might come in here and just trim this off, so this trunk pan will sit down in there and sit flush, and then just remake this lip. Yeah, that's what I think is going on with it. That's quite interesting. So that's what's going on with it. So we got two issues with it, and I was right, because it had me thinking, like, just wondering what in the hell is going on. And that's what it was. I thought this car got rear-ended. Somebody went into the quarter panel on that driver's side, well, on that frame, and that's what was going on. So that's what it is. So the body needs to come over a little bit, and that should get rid of some of those issues. And then the other issue I'm having is these braces, when they were made, they got off somehow. They must have shifted or something. I don't know. Or the measurements were off or something. But it's usable. The braces themselves we can use, but we're just going to have to modify them a little bit. I don't like doing that. But, you know, you got to do what you got to do. I'm going to look up to see just the trunk floor braces themselves, if they're a little bit different. Because this trunk pan is a 2015. It's an AMD trunk floor. And that's supposed to be, at the time, the best of the best. This taillight panel's an AMD. And Dynacorn, I don't even know if Dynacorn's even around anymore. The hood that was on this car was a Dynacorn hood. But I think it's what's going on with it. It's just get this body lined up a little bit better. And we might have to, we're just going to have to modify these braces. That's the only thing I could think of doing. But another issue too is I got the rear bumper for this car, and I got the brackets and everything. I got to get the hardware. But I want to bulk this bumper up, because we're not welding nothing at all until I get all this lined up. And we're going to get sheet metal screws, self-tapping sheet metal screws. And we're going to get everything straightened out, lined up the way I want it. And then we'll just take one out at a time and weld it in. But I'm not welding nothing until we get everything lined up. I'm going to get that rear bumper and put that back on this car and get all that straightened up. And so you gotta make sure this is lined up too, because this is for your gas tank here. And see, it's a lot better than what it was. It was all the way over here, but now it's not too far off. It needs to come over just a little bit. So I have to figure out what in the world is going on. So that some of that is actually in the body. So you got to have that right. So that little, so the center of this right in here should be about the center of this little slot. So should line up, you know, right in there, and it's a good probably inch off, inch and a quarter. It's a good bit off. So I'm gonna play with this thing a little bit more, and see if we can get it moved around. I'm gonna hook a come along to this body. I don't want to do that, but I'm gonna just pull this thing on over and see what happens. But anyway, so that's what we got, and hope y'all enjoy the video. We'll have more to come, and thank you for watching.